right from the thought all the way to physical execution, like in a game of sports. Say you're playing a game of soccer and you're taking that ball down. You need great reaction skills, you need great thought, you need great problem solving, and all of this comes together. And ultimately, if you do this well, you're building cognitive reserve. That's like a second fuel tank. So as you start to age and your genetics start to show up as failing, you've got this extra fuel tank called cognitive reserve that you've built up throughout your life. So, what is brain health? Brain health is like, if you think about your muscles, if you lay in bed taking pills all day, you're not going to build great muscles. And if you do Sudoku a lot, you're not going to build great muscle or the equivalent. What you have to do with the body is you have to demand of your body in order for it to perform. So just like muscles, if I demand, I'm going to build great muscles. Same thing with the neurological system. With the brain is and the neurological system requires efficient neural pathways. And the way you make new neural pathways is you demand. So how do you have brain health? Well, if I have a great brain and my body doesn't work and I'm lying in bed with a great brain, and some of you know people like this, aging what we call badly. They didn't look after their bodies. They have metabolic syndrome in droves, and their brains are nice and sharp, and they're lying in bed and they can't do anything, or they sit in the couch and watch TV like a vegetable. That is not the way to age. What we want to do is enter aging with high cognitive reserve and really, really well-maintained neural pathways. And the way you do that is you demand, and you demand in a very specific way. So I may be a little bit over time here, but there's two important things we must understand about brain health. And that is, it's your neural pathways that are going to give you both your top-down and your bottom-up cognitive training, okay? Bottom-up means I see, I react, and I can perform. So I'm trained, I'm practiced, I see, I react, and I perform. And all of these systems do that. What SMARTfit does in addition is you see, it forces your executive function domain to problem solve, plan, and then execute a decision. So that's an added layer that SMARTfit brings in here. But overall, all of these products are designed to create neural pathways, repair neural pathways, and enhance your neural pathways. And the ultimate goal is the second fuel tank that you want, which is your cognitive reserve. We're all trying to build cognitive reserve, okay? And here we are, as I finish off, here's some samples of a brain health room. If you want to do dedicated brain health rooms, you can have one for kids. You can have one for high performance. Here's your ultimate brain health room. It's got Reaxing, beautiful products there. It's got the Senso, it's got the Cybercycle, it's got the SmartFit, it's got all of these great brain health systems, and they all work together incredibly well. Okay, and then you can just have a plain fitness room. So these are dedicated rooms. And then sometimes you don't have a dedicated room. Sometimes you share this with something else, and there are options for that. So
This
I'm
is
going to
great,
stop.
Cathi.
Yeah.
Let's hold on one second. Let's hold that thought because that's going to be critical when we go back to talking just about smart fit. So let's hold that thought quickly. Because again, I always love listening to you. But let's give Dallas an opportunity. I want him to jump in this conversation about the definition of brain health.
Thanks, Shane. And just like you, I could listen to Cathi talk all day
Yeah,
too.
I know.
It's
It's fantastic.
it is. No, I can't really speak to the years and years and years of development that have happened in this space, but what I can speak to is the changes that I've seen in the market in the past, 5 to 10 years, and it's really been this distinction between fitness and wellness, and that's how this stuff has become kind of part of the zeitgeist, and that's why, you know, Cathi, Jeremy, Michael, and Tom and I have seen so many people coming up to us and saying, "Hey, we want a brain gym." There's been like a culture shift where this has become more important, and that's been great. And I don't think that could have happened unless there was that distinction between fitness and wellness getting more and more pronounced. And I think more and more people are realizing that you can't be fit unless you are also well. There's always that step one, because otherwise we're going to see what Kathy was talking about with the people who have ended up with no physical wellness, but they're sharp as a tack. I can't even count the number of people I have met and people in my family who have, you know, succumbed to that. It's really awful to see. So with early prevention through different trainings, with different training strategies involving these different products and different strategies and other programs, you know, other programs that are being offered by the wise, that's how we can start early and really make a change. And that's been my favorite part about working in this industry and working in this space, is seeing the actual change that we are making. And um, without going on a tangent, the work specifically with Parkinson's that the wise do in general has just been nothing short of inspirational. Every single time I talk to a YMCA, I ask the leading question of what does the Parkinson's membership look like, and it's always high, and they're always getting wonderful services. So we're talking about the Pedaling with Parkinson's programming, Parkinson's in Motion, various balance programs. That has been one of the things that makes me just really happy about working directly with Wise, is seeing what they're doing for that group in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for that, Dallas. And hold on to that thought, because that's the next question that's coming up: is who does this benefit? All right, Jeremy, you're up. You guys definitely. So you do something a little different. And here's what I love about the three people we have in this call, is that these three companies work together. You know, and that's the amazing part of that, because that doesn't often happen. So they all complement one another. So Jeremy, hop in here, please.
Yeah, thanks, Shane, and thank you, Dallas and Kathy, you know, for starting the conversation. I think when we think about brain health, and certainly when we think about, you know, all of the communities and populations that the Wise reach, it's really powerful. And so I think one thing I would add that, you know, is important in terms of what the process is. If we all talk about, oh, I can't, you know, Pete, you've heard people say I can't walk and chew gum at the same time, right? That is cognitive health. When you have to process, when you have to think about doing something and then you have to move doing something else, that's brain health. So when we look at the populations of the Wise, we really, these systems that you'll see in a few minutes, these systems offer the opportunity to enhance brain health, in the sense that you have a visual system, which as you're moving through the world, you see things that are inputs into the body. And then your brain, your neurological system, has to react and respond to what you see, and then create that response physically. And then you have to have the strength to move or to correspond with what that input was. So then there's outputs. So I would liken it to brain health and system health, as Kathy started off brilliantly, is it's really about the system, right? It's about the whole being. And so if you're walking down the street and you catch your toe on part of the sidewalk, the first thing that happens is fight or flight, right? Your brain either shuts down and you fall down, or it turns on and you fight, and your visual looks for a place to put your foot. The brain, that visual sensory input, the neurological system says, okay, I have the wherewithal to move my foot fast enough to catch my balance. And then physically, I have the strength, once I put my foot down, to catch my body and not fall down. When we can do that on all of the various levels that you all reach, from youth to the general population, to sports performance, to active aging, to the seniors, to the neurological Parkinson's and EBHI programs, that's brain health, right? So it's not just as we age and that we lose some of this cognitive ability, but think about if we inject these concepts and these systems to the youth, to the younger kids, to the learn and play kids. This is going to age me, but I think Michael Jordan and Simone Biles are the greatest athletes of all time. This is going to create Jordans and Biles across our planet, right? Because these young kids are going to have the wherewithal to move their body in space, like Simone Biles, and to be able to see something, to see a defender, react and respond to that defender, and then blow by him and score the basket, right? That's brain health in a daily aspect and a functional ways of living plan. So really what you'll see going forward is some of the systems that will allow that. But I think when we look at brain health, and I'll finish with this, Shane, one of the greatest things that happened out of the pandemic was this idea of mental wellness and not mental health, right? Not psychological health, but mental wellness. The ability to wake up in the morning and feel good about the future, and the ability to wake up in the morning and want to move your body and want to get better at what you do. And so from a cognitive standpoint, it's essential that we bring in systems and new thinking to create that sensory input and then have the outputs respond and react as they should in a high performing brain body connection.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I think you gave us the teaser for this next question. So I'm going to field this to Dallas and Cathi. We'll start with you, Cathi. This is the big one because this is where I was really off. Is who does this benefit and how? Let's talk about this wide, range of individuals, all ages, just briefly for sake of time.
Yeah, quickly. If you have a brain, it applies to you. Okay, it's as simple as that. And I'm a former school teacher, and I got into this because I was a school teacher, and I was fascinated by the fact that we sat kids down all day. So this thing came out of early childhood development, especially seeing kids strapped in cars all day and in those carry chairs. It was blowing my mind. I'm a farmer's daughter, and we lay on the floor and we tried to roll around to see what was going on with the family. So we've lost so much of that early neuro development, that early neuro demand. And then we wonder why we have these things called autism out of control and spectrum and all of this. So it starts there. And then when you get to teenagehood, when those brains are rapidly developing, you need so much what I would say executive function neuro demand so that those neuro pathways can develop and complete in a beautiful way. That's a huge important time. And then as we get into active aging, sports, you watch sports, you watch great games because the great athletes can close out that game in 13 seconds when the seconds are going, gone. That is the person who can cognitively plan and physically execute superbly. We love those people. Okay. And then when you get to the aging population, everybody needs it. And if you neglected your body beforehand, the brain is very forgiving. It will accept you at 75 to start over. So it's for everybody.
Dallas.
It's hard to follow up that it's for everybody, and I'm going to be a broken record saying that it's hard to follow up, but no, she nailed it on the head right there. It really is for everybody, and you're building all of these moments throughout life that will help somebody later on. And also, it goes into what Jeremy was talking about. It's for people who need to be able to do that catch step when they catch their toe on an uneven sidewalk. It's for the athlete who needs to have a clutch moment when they need to kind of have some inhibition and be able to ignore a certain stimuli and act in the correct way. And another thing that I'm going to repeat is, comparatively to Cathi, I just got here. I've been in this space for just a couple of years, but one of the things that blew me away was the concept of neuroplasticity. I had been taught my entire life that, hey, I just got to get my brain to 25 when it stops developing, and then I'm good. I'm done after that. And so, when I finally learned about neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change over time, and that is, good change and bad change. It's so obvious that, if the brain can deteriorate, it can also reteriorate, in order to make a new word, right? So that's one of the things that we need to focus on when we're talking about wellness and cognitive wellness specifically, is we need to treat this brain the way it wants to be treated. And so, yeah, just to answer the question, I'm just going to steal Kathy's answer again. Everybody who has a brain, that's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. So this next one, Jeremy, I'm going to have you run solo. Now, all of you have had success in integrating programs into the YMCA's, and this one, again, some of it's for time, but this one, Jeremy, I happen to know that you guys just worked with Pikes Peak on a program where it includes all of you. And you've had some success with this, and it might be a one of a kind program, or maybe the first of its kind is a better phrase. But talk to me about how does a YMCA integrate this program into their current wellness offering?
Yeah, thank you. And yes, we've been super blessed to work with the Pikes Peak Association, Boyd Williams and Chris Sanders. And I'm going to share my screen in a minute, just show you some videos of the space. But the simple was, we wanted to create a space that was programmable, that was based on both revenue, retention, and efficacy. And when we looked at all the populations that the YMCA supports and serves, it was really important that that this space would apply to the little kids all the way to Parkinson's, right, and everyone in between. And so it's I'm just going to share my screen. It is a, let's see, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so with the YMCA and with the populations, this space that we've created is just under 800 square feet. So it's just inside of a racquetball court. And we really, as I said, cognitive, proprioception, and dynamic competence. So when we look at cognitive and brain-body communication, that really trumps everything. And Cathi started it off with, everything starts with the brain, and it's either healthy or it's not healthy, or it's either moving towards goals or it's not moving towards goals. And so this space that we've created, you can see here, it's on the main floor. You walk into the front desk and you turn left, and then there's this space. It's separated by that half pony wall, and then the dumbbells, benches are to the right, cardio is in the back, and then on that back wall are platforms. So it really is just integrated as part of the whole fitness floor, but separated in a way that we could provide high energy, high level, and program this space all day. So this first video this is a baseball team. So you see we got SMARTfit on the wall. We've got all of the Reaxing products and accessories. And we can go into, we can have meetings later about the product specific, but I just want you to see the movements that are being done, right? Cognitive on the wall with SMARTfit, cognitive on the boxing bag, and the ability for multiple people to do multiple things. So this is a high school baseball team, 18 athletes. That's their coach. That's the Y fitness professional there. This is the React treadmill. So it moves like the board, incline, decline, laterally, side to side shifts, incline, decline. So from a cognitive standpoint, the brain experiences this as, oh my gosh, the floor is moving. I either have to turn on a bunch of tissue so I don't fall down and communicate really rapidly, or shut down and then have to step off and not get the work. And I'll tell you, from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., this treadmill is standing room only with seniors. They're bringing in 3 more, but it's standing room only with seniors because they absolutely love it. No repetitive tissue issues, and that cognitive where they have to respond to the floor moving underneath them. So in the space, it's programmed all day long. in the morning, they have the senior programs, pickleball also. Midday, they have EBHI or Parkinson's. After school, they have youth development. And so it's not youth sports, but it's youth movement, as we spoke about earlier. So the ability to move well and have that brain body communication at a higher level than they would if they just did basic uniplanar single plane movement patterns. So this gentleman up on the right, 69 years old, diagnosed with Parkinson's a year and a half ago, but you can see he just is tremendous. So that the board is moving, his ankles have to move and respond. So that's the floor up that Cathi was talking about earlier, and it's primed him for this squat. So now we know from a brain body communication, his feet are talking to his brain now versus his brain talking to his feet. So it has bottom up and top down, and that's the key. Balance here, obviously. Anytime that's challenged, anytime the brain has to think about a movement or it's challenged in a position where it could fall and or get injured, it heightens its communication and the speed of which. This gentleman is 75 years old, 12 years of Parkinson's. This is close to my heart. Shane, you mentioned it as well. This is my father-in-law, just battling. PT, so again, with the space from an activation standpoint, one-on-one. So anytime they're not holding small group programs, personal trainers are in there. They also allow general populations to be in there. This is our reactive boxing bag, stand-up boxing bag. So she has to, from a cognitive standpoint, as Cathi mentioned, right? She's got to hit all the lights without hitting the red light as fast as she can. If she hits the red light, it will catch that and say, okay, there's an error. And then you give her guidance and then she does it again. But the big thing, look at the smile on her face, right? I mean, she's just absolutely having a blast. Golf, everybody loves golf. And certainly the Pikes Peak YMCA, their biggest fundraiser is a golf tournament in August. So this is the executive director of this First and Main branch who has a competition with the CEO, Boyd Williams. High performance. This is an NFL guy, D1 athlete. The bottom is their transformation.
Now, Jeremy, how much space is this right here?
Just about 800 square feet. So almost, or essentially, this would go into a racquetball court space.
Okay, all right.
And we'll talk about, Cathi and I will talk about space in a little bit.
And one thing to everybody that's attending today is we're going to send out all of the information, contact information, so you can take a deeper dive with each of these individuals if you want. Go ahead. You teed up, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's great. So this is just a finishing kind of overlooking to see the whole space. Again, I think, when we look at implementing what they've noticed here at the Y is their active aging members are re-engaging in new modalities, right? This is something different. This is something unique and new. And so there's a re-energizing of this space that was just a PT space with some kettlebells and a wall rack, dumbbells, nothing new, and certainly nothing driving the brain body communication or this cognitive brain health. And so I think when as you're thinking about, you all out there, as you're thinking about doing these spaces, think about 100 square feet on up, right? And it really just depends on the modalities and the populations that you want to serve. But like Cathi and Dallas mentioned, who this is for, it's for the human being. And so we really can have a powerful impact from a little bit of space to a larger space such as this. And we all offer, high level consulting on what that space can look like, how to integrate all of us together. And so I think from a programming and a revenue and or retention standpoint, I think it's really, really a powerful opportunity. And the retention part, I think, is interesting. So as a director of education, I work with a lot of the fitness professionals. And one of the hardest things, as you all know out there, one of the hardest things is to find and keep good wellness staff, right? Healthy living directors and healthy living staff. And so to bring in new product and new education, which we all share, which we all have, I think this is really a great opportunity, not only to re-engage current members, bring in new members, retain those members, but also retain staff, which is really, really powerful.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. Can you do me a favor? Touch on one thing quickly, because I got a feeling we're going to have a lot of questions, so I want to keep moving this along to Dallas and Cathi. Talk quickly about the educational support that is offered to launch a program like this.
Yeah, so we do a multi-tier where it's digitally, it's live, it's virtual, and it's both product based, but it's also programming based, and programming based on youth, on active, on seniors, on EBHI, Parkinson's, as we've kind of all touched on, is close to our hearts. So we're just in the process of dropping a Parkinson's program in. All of the education from both from a neurological standpoint, but from a practical standpoint, will be supported by that. We also collaborate with a company called the Institute of Motion, which is a high level. So we, from a Reaxing standpoint, we provide the education on our products and the programming that would implement into your Ys, but we also provide a high level wellness professional, fitness professional certifications from the Institute of Motion. So we really see, we're not a company that sells you product and gives you an initial education and says good luck. We want that communication cadence to be a drip cadence, whether that's bi-monthly, once a month, once a quarter, however it works best for you and your teams. But it's important for us that this is ongoing. We understand there's turnover, and we understand that there's new science and new practical coming in literally every day. So our education support is across the board from day one till you either don't like us anymore or move to something else.
Great. Thank you. Cathi, I want to move this over to you. If you would like to go back to what we were talking about earlier, developing these great areas, talk a little bit about the product itself. Obviously we want to keep time in, top of our mind, but yeah, and remember to everybody on the webinar, we will be sending out contact information so you can take a deeper dive.
Sorry, I'm having trouble navigating here. Okay.
Yeah, we got
there
you.
We are. So again, this is our YMCA page, and what's important here is to understand just how we put our programming together. I see programming as two things. One is, as a company, it's our responsibility to provide you with programming for the products. On your side, it's really important to understand that no matter how good we are with what we offer as manufacturers, it's always going to be programming supported by product. And that programming must come from inside your organization, that top-down commitment. We're adding brain health, we're adding this category, and these are the people we're going to serve. So we need to be able to work with helping to train and introduce that concept. Remember, this isn't a product, it's a concept. And when a concept gets introduced, I mean, you can go historically into how these have been introduced. There's been great leadership. There's been that broad thinking about the total transformation. I would say this is the most significant concept coming forward because we're finally putting the brain in charge and making all of this brain-led. It actually pulls everything else together. So you can see these on the YMCA web page, we have these little click-throughs. For healthy living, we cover active older adults, chronic conditions, assisted programming. So we have 900 activities in our app, just addressing people in wheelchairs and walkers. our wellness programs, there are 600 activities in our active aging and wellness. We have an extensive section, and I'm not going there, on acute conditions, but if you have a physical therapist or an occupational therapist on staff, then you would dive into this, where we do a lot of stroke rehab, concussion, and orthopedic rehab. And then on the performance side, we do athletics, return to play. SMARTfit is extensively used. In fact, we're in over 300 physical therapy centers and over 300, combination of physical therapy centers and hospitals, outpatient hospitals. So return to play is a big thing. And coming back to the why, once you're done with your medical insurance, you know that ACL still needs work. You should be doing that cognitive motor training. And all of these products are absolutely brilliant at that. And then youth sports. We have extensive sections on youth sports. Our programming addresses personal training, small group training, and large group training. And the facilities you would be looking at, and I'll just go down here, all depends on which populations you're going to focus on. If you're going into the general gym, that's one thing. Then we want to look at the SMARTfit products that are what we call non-space invasive. So we have, most of our systems go on a wall and they don't take up dedicated space. But if you're putting together a specific brain gym room that can be used by everyone at different times of the day, then you can go to town and really have some fun depending on your space. And these rooms are designed for, again, for a racquetball court conversion. When it comes to programming and understanding more, we have the purchasing guide here. We have different software licenses. We don't want to confuse and overwhelm staff that are not ready for more complex training. So you choose your license for the level of your staff and the level of your clients. And then in our purchasing guide, it's really easy. You can go in here and look at which product is recommended for what. And these are our products. And the beauty about what we've done with our design, our strike pods, they start at $5,000. So if you want to start introducing brain health, you can start with $5,000. And this is an amazing system. You can set it up in a gym, out on a field, anywhere where you've got space. You can, the equivalent, you can put this on a wall. Permanent. Actually, we're doing a 12-pods installation this week in Santa Monica at the YMCA in a very large youth room. Dead easy, no maintenance. This system is just going to be wild through the summer. And it's not expensive. That entire installation is under $10,000. So, and then we've got our premier systems. These are the pro trainers, the 2s, 3s, and 4s. But you can just go here and click and take a look at what you want and what you're interested in, and build your own program, you know, and come to terms with what you're interested in. If you click on any one of these buttons, it will take you to more depth. And there you can find, these are the studies that were done. This study was done on Parkinson's. We have scientific proof that it slows the onset of Parkinson's. We have very exciting news coming out of this week, out of the Pacific Neuro Institute. For 7 years, they've been working with patients with Alzheimer's. And the St. John's Hospital Associate, they're starting to run an ad this week across LA. It's a 19-second ad that is absolutely stunning. And it's how they are using SMARTfit to fight Parkinson's, dementia, and Alzheimer's. And a big hospital system like Dignity Health wouldn't be doing that if they didn't have solid evidence that it works. So we're very excited. I'm not paying a thing for it. They're running the ad about how they fight dementia. And then our Buffalo study, this is a YMCA study on dementia, showed significant results in 12 weeks. As a result, that study has kicked in a more expanded study over 3 or 4 sites, and that is in progress right now. So if you want to know more, contact the Buffalo University and, of course, the Buffalo YMCA groups. And if you want to dive into this more, you can find out the results of that study and how it significantly slowed the onset of mild cognitive impairment in that study. So I'll stop.
Yeah, Cathi, thank you so much. And if anyone from the Toledo YMCA is on the webinar, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to come in and experience SMARTfit. Their team put me to the task, and I was completely blown away. So thank you. Dallas, please.
All right, thank you. I'm going to start us off by talking a little bit about research as well. And let me just get a good share going here. Okay, so Dividat is a research-based organization, meaning that we do the research before we even build the product. So we have a pretty extensive library of peer-reviewed, published research studies, going from anywhere between neurodegenerative conditions as well as gait analysis and things like that. So we have all of this research is available in our little library on our website. But what I want to talk about is applicable data. So we did a case study with the YMCA of Metro Denver, and particularly their Parkinson's population, where we used the Senso to prove out efficacy in other programs the YMCA is offering. So what that means is we took their Parkinson's population who are enrolled in different programs. So that is the pedaling for Parkinson's classes, a Parkinson's in motion, and a balance class. So we allowed the members of those classes to use the Senso as they could whenever they were in on site. And we did pre and post assessment. So we did a pre-assessment, and then they went through the courses for 2 months, I believe. And then we did a post assessment. So we were able to pull all of this data about what happened to their static balance, dynamic balance, cognitive flexibility, reaction time, and we were able to show those results. And so we saw decreases in reaction time and increases in balance and cognitive output. But the more important thing, in my opinion, other than the data, was the testimonials that we got from it. So these people with Parkinson's who did these courses found the product to be inviting, intuitive, something that they could do on their own, and wanted to continue doing it. And I think that that's the key when you're working with this population, is having something that is accessible and something that is intuitive and something they can do, which is a key feature of all of the products you're seeing today. Is it's something that is not so much fuss, and it folds into both what Jeremy and Cathi were talking about, where we're not providing a product as much as we are an entire program, and we're helping you implement that. And that implementation is not the same thing across the board. That implementation is different site by site, community by community, based on what those membership needs are. And each one of us has extensive experience in implementing that along across a bunch of different organizations. So yeah, that's in the interest of time, I'm gonna leave it at that. But I just wanted to pepper in a little bit of data, a little bit of fun case studies that we've done, and kind of explain, what the implementation looks like a little bit, because I think that that's a really important part for anybody in this call to hear.
Yes, I appreciate that. Jeremy, I know we're going to have some questions, so I want to try to save some time. Do you want to touch on a couple of products quickly? I know you did a great job earlier. Let me know, because I know there's some unique nuances to your product. Do you want to run through those?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to share would be grateful to share real quick. I'm just gonna see if can you all see my screen there?
Yes.
So if we look at the board, if we look at the gentleman up here on the right? So this is the Reax board. It moves 11% incline, decline, front to back, 14% side to side. And as you see, it's a 4x8, so it's essentially a commercial treadmill. The beauty about the Reax board is this really is a top to bottom and bottom to top opportunity. And so when you look at any population, we start every session here, we end every session here, we neurally prime the body to do off the board movement patterns. And so it really gives this, it's fun. We have a 9-year-old soccer team. I say we, I feel I'm part of this branch now. I spent a fair amount of time. I live in Colorado Springs, so this serves us well. But we have a 9-year-old team, a 9-year-old soccer team. They have 13 athletes, and they're all on the board, and we do all our vision work while they're on the board and the board's moving. So, the Reax board is a really powerful opportunity to bring in something new, but it also has such a higher function when it comes to brain body communication and connection. And so that's one of the products that I think really can make a big difference. And then the treadmill, and this really has been the star in the YMCA. So the treadmill does the same thing, 11% incline, 11% decline. And if you think about that decline, the ability to decelerate your body mass is imperative, right? For any of us, whether you're 4 or 104. And so to be able to go downhill in a controlled environment and then have the board moving side to side as well, really puts your joints, if you think about the ankle to the hip, it puts those joints in angles that are very different than you could mimic while under load, unless you're out, in the mountains or on the trail. So we can create these lines of force that will have adaptation and just make people stronger, faster reaction time, greater balance, and really just improve the way that they move. And more importantly, and Dallas mentioned this, the fun of that, but also the confidence of that, right? And the fun and confidence, that's what we're lacking. And that's what we lose as we age if we don't take care of ourselves. So, really those two products are our go-to products. And from a space standpoint, it's a commercial treadmill. So thank you for that, Shane. And we obviously have lots. You can see our fluid-filled medicine balls, but happy to have those conversations later.
No, and thank you all. And I want to open this up to some questions. But first, I want to say is that, we take it very serious in the way that we vet our partnerships, and we want the right partnerships to serve the YMCAs. And from all of you, I hear this is a personal mission. It's our responsibility. We are committed. So again, I really appreciate your efforts. These are major impacts that are made, and we could spend hours on the phone talking about this subject matter. But right now, Mike, if you're out there, if we've got any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll get to them.
Yeah, thanks, Shane. So the first question we have is from Andrea Sertel, and that was, I apologize for not remembering which brain health product it was, but it was when you were talking about the Toledo branch had one of the products, and the question was, what branch at the Toledo Y is that?
So I'll answer that. That's the Fort Meigs. And Cathi, do you want to, because you're the one who set that up. So which one is that?
I believe it's at 4 of them. So,
it is. Okay. My mistake.
Yeah. So, that one that you made, I don't know the names of the other ones, but there are 4 of them that have SMARTfit. And they're primarily doing Parkinson's. And that's a classic example of a Parkinson's program. They're using the SMARTfit High Impact Mini, and they're using the programming within that system. And it's pretty easy to run the program. And it's not in space invasive at all. So they were able to squeeze it into a shared space.
Great. Thank you for that, Cathi.
As of right now, we have no more questions. So if anyone has additional questions they'd like to ask, we'd love to provide some feedback.
There was one I saw about teaching rock steady boxing. It came through quickly.
Yep, that was from Andrea as well. So
okay.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Andrea, thank you for teaching Rocksteady boxing, because I've seen a direct correlation between locations that offer Rocksteady and locations that really take their Parkinson's training seriously, and so
Right.
that's wonderful. Anybody who has Rocksteady should be absolutely looking at expanding with their offering.
Right. I'd
Great.
like to add about that with the Parkinson's. Number one, our research at University of Southern California was conducted by Dr. Beth Fisher, who is the researcher that proved that exercise, physical therapy, boxing can slow the onset of Parkinson's. And when she reported back on the study, she said that our programming was superior to, and the science showed that our programming was superior to her best physical therapy programming. So we're in over a dozen Rocksteady programs, but we're also in programs that can't get a franchise because there's a Rocksteady nearby. And so they're coming to us and they're purchasing SmartFit. So that may be an opportunity as well.
Cathi and Dallas, for those attendees that may not be familiar with what Rocksteady is, could you all, in 3 or 4 sentences, to kind of define what the Rocksteady boxing is?
It's a franchise of about 1,700 facilities that offer boxing as a program to slow the onset of Parkinson's. It's that cognitive motor, that neuro demand. It comes back to the more you demand, number one, and number two, when you do it in a gamified way, you release dopamine. And Parkinson's is a result of, it's one of them. There's science now challenging this, but it's the failure to deliver the neurotransmitter dopamine. Now, when you do anything gamified, and all of this is gamified, right? It's brain-body gamification. You increase not only the dopamine levels, but also the serotonin, the norepinephrine, and the endorphins. So all of this goes to creating that neurotransmitter concoction for healthy neuro creation. So that's why it works.
Thank you.
Great. Well, Mike, I think we're gonna wait for a few minutes. If there's any other questions that pop up, please put them in the chat. Again, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, Jeremy, Cathi, Dallas, being on the call. For those that are still on the call, keep an eye out. As I said earlier, we are going to be rolling out the inclusive fitness, which I think is going to be that's another heavy impact webinar. And then beyond that, it'll be teaching with technology. We're looking at July to roll those out, so stay tuned. All right. Jeremy, how's things going with, what did I say? We got a few minutes, they'll pop in. Things going with Pikes Peak, things going well with you guys?
Yeah, tremendous. We just launched 3 new programs. The COO, Teresa, just started a women's golfing program using the board, and it's super fun. I'm not a golfer, so I don't
More am I.
I love the sport, but I don't love, I don't have the time to golf, but they're having a great time. And then we're introducing in 3 different branches a new Parkinson's program with our accessories, the Reax Fluey and the Reax chain. And this is really with the intention of getting these folks out of chairs.
Yeah.
Due respect to all the programming, but the ideally we need these folks on their feet, right? And we need these folks to the Rocksteady boxing, the rhythmicness of boxing, and then the contact is really what creates that neurological connection and certainly new neuromotor pathways. And so we're adding a similar idea with our fluids and chain. So really just, it's just been tremendous.
That's awesome.
I do
Cathi,
have
yes.
one little contribution here.
Yeah,
we looked
please.
it up. We have 101 YPG members who bought our former technology sport wall. And if you have an old sport wall system, we have a trade-in opportunity for you. So that's separate from the additional benefits you get from being a YPG member. But we don't want to leave our sport wall customers behind. Those are the systems that we were supplying in the early 2000s. I know they've lasted a long time. Sometimes right by now, 20 years later, they don't work probably, but we can take care of you with that.
Oh, Cathi, thank you for that. All right, Dallas, how are things going with you?
Going wonderful. We just had a wonderful time at NATO a couple of weeks ago, and ever
Yeah.
since then, I have not been home at all. I've just been doing installations in various locations and just doing what I love. So we're expanding and gaining some traction. So it's been a blast.
Good. Well, like I said, we're going to send out all of your contact information to the attendees, and hopefully we'll keep moving this. Yeah, as I said, this is incredible. This is a movement, so hopefully we'll keep moving forward. All right. Well, I think we got enough time. So again, thank you all, and I will be in touch, and we'll continue this conversation.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you all
everyone.
very much.
Hey, thank you,
Have
everyone.
a great week. Cheers, bye.